Hello again, people. Once more, welcome back to the cellar. This one, we're going to be looking at a small electrical problem. I'm then going to be powering up the yard tracks, and we're going to be running some trains. So let's head down to the cellar. This is Leopard Street. Hello, once more, back in the cellar. Cool. Today's job, relatively straightforward. Two things I want to do today. First, I'm going to have a quick look at why the 5 volt power bus to this side is showing a significant volt drop. I might not do much about it, I wouldn't mind finding out why though. Secondly, these 3 bits of track are going in, they're going to get wired up, they're going to be operational. Little slew pieces of cork at the end are in place. I did think I might put another piece on the end of this, but the goal for today is these 3. So, let's have a look and see what we can do. Okay, now the first thing to do with this volt drop issue is measure, is it actually a volt drop? Because here, this here is where the 5 volt power supply comes in. So, what I'm going to do is power up. Check the voltage here. It should be about, if it's a volt drop, this will be about 5 volts. If this is much less than 5 volts, it's a problem with the current and I need to do a little bit of current measuring. So let me just firstly power on. So I need that one first, which powers the layout up. That few seconds to switch itself on, and then power up all of the relays. Now we can. Something's just reset itself. What I'm going to do now, a few things resetting themselves, I'm going to measure the voltage here, if I can persuade it to do it. 5 volts. Right. What I'm now going to do is power it all off. 5 volts here tells me it's probably a resistance issue somewhere. So what I'm now going to do is check the resistance between this point and over there. So let's do that. Okay, so let's have a look at how we're going to do this. The power is off. Unfortunately, my meter does not have long enough wires to go across the gap I need to go across. So what I'm going to do is check the resistance between 5 volts there and 5 volts there. Assuming I can get the meter to sit on my knee correctly. So I should be able to see there to there. What have we got? Not very much resistance, which is good because that's what I want. We'll check that. About 2.6 ohms. A little bit higher than I was hoping it would be, but there we go. 2.6 ohms there. And on the ground side, about the same, 2.6. This board to this board, yeah, okay, it's not brilliant, but it's got a connector up there. Just jam that again. Let's just make sure. So there to there. Now showing a little bit more than it was, which is a little odd perhaps. Measuring about 5 ohms, which it shouldn't be. And about 5 ohms. So there's a resistance gap there. Let's see if I can get this to measure correctly between the 2 boards. I want to see what the resistance is across here. So let's take you up a little bit. Knees, wonderful things. Right. Now the hard bit here is this might fit, but I need to move this back in. So bear with me 1 second. I shall move my workbench back along here. not sat on the Hoover, that'll probably help. Right, so what I'm going to do now is try to measure, assuming I can get this in the right place. Longer leads will be very useful here. So 5 volt power is that one there. And that is saying I've got about 2 ohms between those two. And to there, I've got about 2 ohms. Which is interesting. So, next one is let's have a little look and see what the volt drop is between those two. So that is back on. And I'm just going to check what the volt drop across the ground lines are. So it should be about 0. Yeah, very low. Yeah. And then we power the relays on. Again, I can check what the volt drop is between those two. Not a lot. And it's now telling me I've got about 4 volts over here, which is more than I had before. I'm still losing power, however. Over here, I'll check this again, I've got about 4 volts, which is, yeah, lower than it should be. Okay, there is something I need to look at there. That's for another day. Let's go and we're doing some track. So first off, what do we need to do? The track itself doesn't need cutting. I need to prep the end for some sleepers, so I will do that for this one first because it's fairly straightforward to do, although I do need to stop it from disconnecting its short little section of track down here by pulling the rails out. So what I need to do is take a couple of sleepers off this end. This is just so I've got somewhere to put connectors at this end. They can come off. Rails are different lengths, doesn't matter. It's going to have another piece connected to it. We do the same for this one. And we can do that. Again, just a couple of sleepers off the end, just so I've got somewhere to put the fish plates in. These will get metal fish plates added, so it shouldn't be a huge problem. Some place there, slide that out. And again, off the end. Assuming I can cut it in the right place. Right. Now actually wiring these up is going to be slightly... Get rid of those, don't need the sleepers. Wiring these up is going to be slightly different. Normally I use brown and blue wiring. And it's blue to the outside of the board, brown to the inside. There is no happy little mnemonic of black to the back or anything like that on there, just brown and blue. So I'm going to be using purple and pink. Pink is going to be the blue track equivalent. So on the outside, the reason being that I've got less of. So I need to run wires from probably about here, here and here have got to come into this block. So I've got enough to do that. The wires are going to be from underneath, they're going to come across. I also need to put droppers on this side, which are going to come to a block over here. Down here, eventually, because this is a different board, they will come to here. From here they will go to the boards panel and other bits and pieces. Short term, I'm soldering the rails down, but I'm not cutting them. So yes, there'll be feed wires over here. No, they won't connect to anything. So what I need to do is work out roughly where I want to put those feeds, and I'm going to go about here. So what I'm going to do is come in, and because this is a non-scenic area, this is quite easy to do. I'm going to come in and I'm going to cut away a section of sleeper like that. Where it sees. So that's where the wires are going to go there, and then I need to do something similar on the other side of that connector where the wires will go across the boards. Take that one off. Right. So what I've got here roughly, I'm not going to mark it. I was going to mark it out. I'm not going to mark it yet because this way, if I need to change where it ends up, it doesn't matter. So clip these, and then we shall relocate to the desk and add a bit of wiring. So that's there, that's there. Now, I'm not anticipating this job being particularly difficult. I say these won't be tied into anything to do with the block detection just yet. The layout isn't anything like JMRI is going to be blissfully unaware these bits of rail even exist. So this one comes here. So those. Cut all the way through, it's always worth doing. And then this side, this one's actually a little bit more awkward because I don't really want to be soldering too near the ends, but I'm going to have to. These ones are going to have its wires at the end, really, to make it fit. Okay, so that'll do. Now I need to work out how long these bits of wire here need to be. So, pink wire from there, down underneath, I'm going to say about that. That's probably a bit long, but it'll do. So I want 3 lengths like that. This is the 1602 wire, which, if I've got my little piece of paper around, which I should have, is the 20 AWG wire. See, I said I'd try and remember to do that, and there you go, I've remembered to do it. These wires droppers are a little bit longer than what I normally do. These won't be going to a terminal block immediately under the board and then being brought up. These are just going to come straight up to here, basically because I might as well. So that's 3 droppers like that for this side of the board. I now need to work out how long they need to be on this side, which is going to be slightly problematic because I don't have as much wire left. So this one, the position of this next piece may well be determined by how much wire I've got. So, although to be fair, actually, this can be reasonably short at this end. So yes, I have a couple of these. I need to order some more pink wire. I don't think I've got any more pink. But there we go. Well, I could possibly do some pink in a slightly larger diameter because I have got to do a bus rail with it. So some 2402 or 1819 AWG will do quite nicely. Right, so that's pink wire. The same now with purple. Purple I've got lots of because I've not used purple before. What I did, I think I got this. Don't know if this was Railway Scenics. I think this was eBay. I'm pretty sure this was eBay, not Railway Scenics. The next lot will be Railway Scenics because he supplies it much more nicely. Yeah, so Steve, there's an order coming your way shortly. Yeah. I have to. It's just a case of always working out just how much to get to try and optimise the postage and you don't end up covered in sellotape. So yeah. But that's what that'll be doing. Yeah, that's some of this. Normally I don't bother measuring the wire when I'm doing this. Normally I just do it, but there we go. The purple, now this needs to be slightly longer. This, yes, for now it's going to come to here. Eventually it's going to come up, probably through another hole over here somewhere, into the block detection boards. So, as long as it can reach this, it'll probably be alright, thinking about it. So what I'm going to do is make these the same length. So again, purple. I do like purple. Purple's a lovely colour. So yeah, and obviously I'm using different colours for these because this this bus will be reversible for each of the 3 tracks independently. So I need 3 sets of bus wires, and then all the relays and other good fun and gubbins we're going to have coming up. That's those 3. And incidentally, I also got delivery yesterday, a lot of these 7.4 series logic chips. I've got OR gates, AND gates, NAND, NOTs, Schmidt triggers. I've got loads of them. Anyway, so yes, that's all for the future. As Ian from Train of Thought rightly pointed out, you don't actually need OR gates. You can just use a couple of diodes. Yeah, I could. I'm using OR gates because I like them. But yeah, you could just use diodes. Diodes give you a volt drop and OR gate won't. But in this application, to be honest, it probably doesn't matter. So, there we have the wire cut and prepped. I'm not stripping the ends, I'm not putting the connector bits on the ends yet. Especially for over here, because the wires are just going to be dangling down. So, to the desk. Okay, here we are at the desk. Now, all I've done since the last video, apart from move everything to the desk, is run a file. Hopefully you might be able to see. If I do that. Right, the phone is in a... Phone's in a wonderful stand. If I touch the screen at the minute, it doesn't work. Anyway, never mind. So I'm going to set this zoom level. I've run a file over the back of the rail. Reason for doing that, relatively straightforward. I want to increase the area I can get this thing to grip. So the first thing I'm going to do is dab some solder onto the backs of the rail here. So a little bit of the magic flux, which again, apart from smelling lovely, love the smell of flux, anyway, is here to assist in getting the solder to stick. So if I try a bit of solder onto the end of the iron, it should fit onto there. What I need to do is put a little bit more in and get a little bit of a blob on the back of the rail, ideally spread out slightly. The idea here is that this will allow me to stick some wire to it fairly easily. So that's that end. I'm going to do this one piece of track at a time. Problem I have with these is these are already 3 foot long, and my desk isn't really designed for working on anything 3 foot long. As you can tell by the fact this won't sit flat. Anyway, yes, in a desperate attempt to avoid the problems I've had in some previous videos where I've been filming at the desk, I have put some yellow dots on. This is so I know roughly where the centre of the camera is and where the edges of the screen are. So hopefully you'll be able to see what I'm doing this time. And my apologies for all the videos in the past where you've not been able to see what I'm doing. So there we go. So if I lift that up to the camera and stop it tangling itself around the speaker cables, hopefully you can see those little blobs of solder there and towards the ends. So what I now need to do is prepare the wire. So I'm going to do the longer wires first, which are this piece. Now this is, I just need to make sure I get this the right way round. This is that way. And the blue wire is, right, sorry, the blue wire. The blue wire on the layout, which is the pink wire here, is this rail towards the back. So what I'm going to do is prepare a little bit of wire, which is relatively straightforward. Sort of cut the end off this, like that. You can use wire strippers for that if you've got some that are suitable. Basically, I don't have any decent wire strippers. The wire strippers I've got, or I had, are rubbish, so I've got rid of them. That can go into there. Now this is just flux as well, it's just a solid sort instead of a liquid sort. This now needs to be tinned, and this is always an absolute pain because the wire never wants to stay where you put it. So what I don't want it to be is right next to the other bit of wire. There we go. Now all I'm doing by tinning it, I'm melting a little bit of solder into the wire, and again, when this touches the rail, what this means is there is solder already on the wire. There we go. So this should now join on quite a bit easier. So what I'm going to need to do is try not to burn my fingers too much and bend that. This is now going to go onto here. So back towards the centre of the screen again. I put a little bit of solder on the wire. This is going to go, I'm hoping you're going to be able to see this. If I bend that back a bit, you might be able to see it a little bit better. This is going to go on here. This is one of those with your third hand jobs. So what I need to do is melt. Solder on the rail needs melting, the solder on the wire needs melting, and it all needs melting together. Let it rest for a second, pull. If it stays attached, it's probably good enough. Yeah, that'll do. Yeah. Trim off the excess. So that's the long pink wire. I'll now do the shorter pink wire, which can go on the end. It's done in the same way. It's busy decided to flux the end of itself. And yes, yeah, Charlie over at Chadwick, he's got some rather nice wire strippers from RS. There are some very good automatic ones, and then there are the cheap ones on eBay. All I'll say on that matter is avoid the cheap ones on eBay. They are absolute rubbish. So this needs to be tinned now as well, so I just need to get that out of the way. Try and tin the end of this. Incidentally, I never really understood why people had gas-powered soldering irons. Now I do, is all I'll say. Is just the sheer trouble that some of this stuff can be is phenomenal. I think it's to protect your desk while you're doing it. This green thing under is actually a heat mat, so should work for protecting the desk. So this needs to come in this side here. Try and avoid touching the sleepers with it. That's stuck. Cool for a second. And that's stuck. The sleepers are plastic. Plastic obviously melts when it gets too hot. It will cope with a little bit of heat. And again, trim that. I just don't want the excess sticking out too much. Right, I'm now going to repeat that with the purple wires, and then we will be back. As always, if you feel the need for music at this point, feel free to hum. Yeah, I'm not going mad with background music and sound effects on this sort of thing at the moment. Feel free to leave a comment if you prefer it quiet like this, prefer a bit of rambling, or just prefer find some appropriate music. Thoughts welcome. On with the show. Okay, back. This has now got its wires soldered, so I now need to mark out where the holes need to go and get some holes drilled. So that is going to be about there. That's going to be, so the holes need to be that line there and that line there, and then ideally if I just have a small offcut of track somewhere, which I don't have a small offcut of track, but I do have a medium length offcut of track. Basically I can just work out then roughly where on the inside part of that they need to be. So that's there and that's about there. So, drill. Before drill, goggles needed. Now some people say they don't like wearing these because you look like a dweeb. I'm ahead of the game. I look like one without bearing. I just need to change the drill bit. My sort of 19mm paddle bit that's been in there to. I use a 3mm for this. I mean, there's, as I've mentioned before, there's a couple of different ways of doing this. You can put your hole as one big hole in the middle, or two smaller holes to the side. Again, booby prize. So we can switch the drill on. There we go. The beauty of having them remote controls, because I turn them off again, I have to keep turning them back on. That's that, and I now need a suitable brush just to clean the crap away. Naughty word, but never mind. Right, I can feed these wires through one at a time. So I have a pink wire through there, which is the proxy for the blue wire. The purple, which is the proxy for the brown wire. So that matters when I come to wire this up. Which, as I've said, for now I'm just wiring these straight to the power bus. I'm not attempting to do anything fancy with it. I just want to be able to drive a drain on it for now. Point being, I just want some sidings here. I've had a while where I've been able to have 4 trains on the layout, a 5th if I spend a bit of time messing around. What I'd like to do is have a few more and be able to run a few more. So there we go. So what I need to do now is just lay this down all the way, basically just to make sure those wires do actually go into the holes where they need to. Make sure it centers properly on there as well. Right, that's okay. So I know roughly where I'm going up to. I can lift that up. And then we're back to the good old copy decks. So this stuff is lovely. Really do like copy decks. Hate the smell. It's lovely glue though. So put a bit of that on there, especially around the board join. Don't need it so much around where the cable goes. And you can do this. I think I watched Charlie do this, and he puts the copy decks on the track. I don't think it'll make a great deal of difference. I mean, I defer to Charlie's knowledge in a great many areas, put it that way. Yes, the Chadwick layout he's got is quite impressive, and he has done some wonderful things with it, and I've learnt a lot. So, that's what I should say. If you're not, he's one of those people. If you're not a subscriber to Charlie's channel, go and do it. Go and watch, especially watch some of the earlier ones where he's Chadwick TMD. That's well worth watching because you'll actually see how his layout has evolved into what it is. These come back here. Let's push the fish plates in at this end here before it goes down too far. Which is always a bit of a fiddly pain, but there we go. Apologies, this is probably out of shot. I'm just trying to, at the moment I'm just trying to get this to work rather than anything particularly else, unfortunately. So that is that one. Let's get the track out of the way. Put it off again. So yeah, on you go. So what's the issue when you tend to find when you're trying to put 2 fish plates on at the same time is one of them wants to go on and one of them doesn't. Right, so that's that one on. Come on, you go. Okay, you really want to. Right, there we are. Both of those on. So that can then go in laid down flat. I do have a track setter, which I can just click in here. Make sure that is straight across that join. push the rails up. A pair of cutters just to assist. This can then slide all the way along there and hold that. And that, it's lifted up very slightly around where that is. I don't mind that. That's there. I'd rather it be held down sort of here and here, and that bit can form a sort of natural hump than ram it down here and get a steep bump, if that makes sense. So that's that siding in. Obviously it's not wired in yet, would help if I was talking about the right track there. That's going to need some weights adding to it. The weights are going to have to wait. Boom, boom. Yes. Anyway, I do apologise. This is the outer track. They are all slightly different. I know this is the outer one because of the number of fish plates it's got. So this also needs marking up the holes. Let's get these bits of wire out of the way. And that is going to be about there. And I'm talking about there and there. So again, I'm just going to and just mark up a couple of holes there. And again, I'll drill those again in goggles because goggles matter. And again, brush it clear. We'll run the hoover over it later. Don't need to do that just yet. And again, wires through the holes, not tangled up preferably, because tangling them up just gets annoying. Now the other advantage, if you do go down the I will have a single hole in the middle route, is it's a lot harder to get them tangled up. But there you go. Anyway, I'm going this way because, well, it matters a lot less, I've got to say, in this part of the layout. This is the non-scenic section of the layout. In the scenic areas, I find having two smaller holes, they're a lot easier to bung up with copy decks if you so desire. And once you've done that, when you ballast it, you don't find it rains underneath, which is, I think it's always a bit of a bonus. So that can go into there, that can go into that one. Feed that through, because that's got a bit of sellotape stuck around it for some reason. There can go, which again, just check. These wires will actually lay flat. Yes, they do lay flat. This one here actually needs to be looking at starting its slewing. I'm not actually going to glue this side. It'll get soldered. I'm not going to glue this side. Reason being, I want the ability when I start slewing the track to make it all line up properly. So I'm just going to do this bit here. So if I turn you a little, you can see what I'm doing. This is my innermost siding. Plenty of glue on near the ends. Matters a bit less towards the middle, although it's still getting glue applied. A few blobs of it over here as well. Once near the join, it will actually fit. This one is slightly curved. I didn't clip the ends of the rails. They are going to be slightly uneven. Not really a problem because I can clip the ends of the rail that will connect to it to match, and I end up with a slightly staggered join. If it was going to be a double insulated join, I'd bother, but it isn't, so I'm not. I just need to get the rails to go into the sleeve, into the joiners, which they now have. And then what we do is bring it over here and lay it down. and then try to get the positioning to be exactly where I want it to be. And again, just close up the rails of the join. This bit here is supposed to be straight, which it is. Like I say, it lifts up a little at the end there. I'm not too bothered by that. That I'll deal with later. Yeah, because as I say, that rail needs to be slewed slightly to the side. That's that one. Let's do the middle one. By far the longest part of this is actually wiring in the dropper wires. Now I'm putting a dropper on every single length of track. So even if it's a single length, single piece of track that's going to be like 12 yards long, it will be 3 sections. It will have 3 power feeds, even though it's all metal fish plates between them. This is a lesson I learned from my N-gauge Dingleberry layout. So again, a few holes. Yeah, if you're going to use fish plates for electrical conductivity between sections, solder them. Seriously. Loft layouts especially, you do have problems with the heat expansion. To be honest, down here I don't really have problems with heat. Cold and damp, yes. Heat, no. So I don't really have to worry too much about track expansion here. In a loft layout, you're going to want expansion gaps. Expansion gaps mean your rail joiners are not gripping the rails brilliantly. Put a power feed on every length, and funnily enough, you don't have a problem. And if you put the power feeds roughly in the middle, if you can, you shouldn't have any trouble there with the expansion either. Sort of pulling on things is the hope. So I'm going to get these in, I'm going to get this glued down. I'm going to get some weights on them, and then while the glue dries, I'm going to look at wiring it up, because frankly, I might as well. So again, I'm just going to lay this one down and make sure it does actually lay flat. I have had some that don't. I've had a few where I've basically got the wire in slightly the wrong place, and it's a lot easier to find that out before you've put the glue down. So you should now put some more glue down. Now this one again is going to get the glue all the way. I'm just going to do this. I do need to order some more of this. I think I mentioned that the other day and haven't got around to it yet. There's a bit more in here yet. I'm going to need more if I'm doing the rest of the cork for the next sections, and then there's a few other bits and pieces I need for that anyway. So yeah, it's all going to take a little bit of time. A little bit more of this over here. And the beauty of using the cork the way I've done it, which is 2 strips laid side by side, is you get a centre line down the middle. So you have actually got something to line the track up on, which is quite handy. Right, that's that one. Try to get this lid to actually go on remotely properly, but never mind. Right, again, leave the fish plates in. There we go. This comes in here like so. It's got one there that doesn't quite want to go where I want it to, but never mind. Over here, close the rails up nicely. This bit in the middle should be straight, especially where it goes over the board join. And then at that end there, it just slews a little bit. Now that now needs some weight adding, so just excuse me 1 minute. I can reach past and get hold of this. I'll put that there, that's holding it down nicely at both ends. This bit here hasn't quite got in properly. For some reason it now doesn't want to lay flat, even though it was when I first tested it. Deform the cork a little bit there to help with the wire. They're nicely laid. I'm checking they're laid over the tops of the soldery bits of the sleepers, basically so I can apply soldery bits to the sleepers. I'm going to put that on there as a bit more of a weight, and yeah, that works. All the holes for the infrared sensors work. Get that out of the way. The next bit is feed the wires up to here, which I'm going to do 2 at a time, because it matters which ones go where. So I'll feed these up through here. So this is back to crimping tool, one of those, and the crimps at the end. So we shall come back down here so you can see what I'm doing again, or at least vaguely see what I'm doing. Incidentally, if you see me doing something wrong, don't forget to laugh. I'd say tell me, but obviously by the time you can see this, I've done it. So yes. So this is the first rail. So these are again cut a little bit. Move that out of the way for a minute, just so I can put my hand down. And again, twiddly, twiddly, twiddly. And because this is 1602, all the needless to say, yeah, about 20 OWG. Needless to say, yeah, I'm calling this out. I turn around to look at the reference sheet, and of course there is something laid across it in exactly the little bit I need to look at. Go figure. Right. So pink is the rear track, which is the proxy for blue. So that can go there, like that. I'm going to do the purple track as well. Yeah. So again, I'm just applying a twiddle on the end of these things here. And the other thing is, something to note is I've got, you probably may have seen it on the desk, I've got an awful lot of single core wire. It's often sold, labelled as hookup wire. Very useful on circuit boards. It's basically wire to use where you don't want things to bend, or you want wires to stay in place, but don't use it for anything like this. So here we go. What I've now got is tight enough. One of those, and spin it around again so it's not twisting. Those. And they're coming in here instead of to where the bus wires are, because this is where I want them to be. For now, like I say, eventually some will come over here, but they can sit where they are there for now. Let's get the next pair. Those two, so these two next. So these two can come up and get the same treatment. I don't mind these having some slack on them. Normally I would, but like I say, here they're going to end up being fitted to something else in the end, so I need a bit of slack so it can be redone. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to finish this off, which is not going to take very long. I'm then going to add some jumper wires, which is not going to take very long. And then what we're going to do is we're going to power this up. We have to pick the wires back up that have just disappeared back down through the hole. Yes, I'm then going to try this again. I'm going to, hopefully without breaking anything. These two are going to come back up here like this. Yes, I'm going to wire this up. I'm going to power it up after I've done a basic continuity test. And then I'm going to drive a few trains around, because I've not really driven trains around for a while. I don't have many out of the boxes currently, so it's a bit limited with what I can run. So it's basically going to be the good old Scotsman rumbling backwards and forwards again, but I'll be able to park up trains. These sidings at the moment will take a locomotive and a couple of coaches. They won't take much more than that. For now, they don't need to. because the rest of it's still in the boxes. Now I could put all the pink wires together here and then all the blue, the purple wires. So I've got 3 pink terminals, 3 purple terminals. I don't want to because I want to make it quite clear which is which siding. Is that one? That's that one. Slacking the next ones off while I'm here, might as well. Grab the final 2 wires, and like I say, the wires on the other board are going to be just left pretty much to their own devices currently. They're not touching anything, they're not contacting anything, so they're not going to be a problem. The ends of them aren't stripped either, so I don't have to worry about them touching against things. They will, in the not too distant future, they'll be brought up to the surface and terminated correctly. There we are, you just a piece of wire. I'll find a couple more contacts out here. Again, just a few more of these crimps. Wonderful as well using these if you're going to be wiring something up temporarily and then refitting it elsewhere. Largely because they save damage to the end of the wire. You can basically unscrew these terminals and refit these things as many times as you like. It's not going to do any damage. So there we go. Nearly done. And by the time I've done this, the copy decks, it won't have dried. It will have dried enough I can run a train over part of it. Even if I do need to leave the weight on the end piece. But hopefully by the time everything is powered up, we'll be alright. In fact, what I might do actually is do the continuity test and then leave it for an hour or so. I will disappear and go and find something else to do for a little bit. Won't be torturing Kerbals. I did a rescue mission yesterday, I'm not doing another one. So yes. Right, these now need connecting temporarily from here to these points here. So the way I'm going to do that is with more of the 1602 wire, which in theory is a little bit small for this. In practice, it's actually fine. So what I'm going to do is, this isn't going to get crimps added to it. The reason this isn't going to get crimps added is because this is very, very firmly a temporary thing. So if I don't put the crimps on it, I've got a couple of hundred of them, I might as well add some. It's easy enough to do. But I'm going to do this as a daisy chain. This should probably be thicker wire as a result of that, but given the length of it, I'm not predicting any problems. So basically what I'm going to do is make a little wiring loom. And to start like that, then we have another short piece, because I need to link 3 of these together. And these are going to go to where the pink ones are. I'll do that. And then this is how you do a temporary wiring bodge, installation. It's worth doing this sort of thing because it means instead of having to wait an age to power the next part of the layout up into these tracks, I can power them up today. I don't need to worry about having the rest of the equipment to do it, so I can get this bit powered on, run, tested, and then we can carry on with the next bit. And the next bit is going to be more basically extending these sidings. This is the thing I want to actually get done now, so this next one is longer. Yeah, I want to get these sidings done round onto the end board. Once they're done round onto the end board, I can safely start work on the other the other baseboard I need for the low level section here. And once I've got that done, I've actually got proper reversing loops, which is good. For the first time then I'll be able to drive a train from the inside track to the outside track. Admittedly I'll have to go around the loop to do it and it'll turn the train round, but hey, it's a reversing loop, that's its job. Right, so those three are going to go into there. So if I just put these in to start with, which is on pink terminals. I must say, I don't know how far I'm going to get this year with this layout. It would be nice to at least be thinking about the station, or at least the board for the station, which is going to be the upper level. So that goes into there, that goes into that one. That goes into that one. And you see what I've just done is bridged all the blue connections together. This is then going to come around and go into here, and I'm not too fussed that this is going to be a bit long. I don't think it matters because, like I say, it's not going to be here forever. And it's not somewhere the trains are going to catch it. So yes, I'm going to sort this out. I need to have a little bit of a think about where things exactly go next, but it's likely, like I say, to be extending these sidings. I've also got obviously a lot more scenic work to do. So open to suggestions in the comments on what people want to see. Do you want to see just more trains rattling round? Do you want to see trains rattling round without hearing me prattling on? Frankly, if you do, I wouldn't be surprised and I wouldn't blame you. There we go. Piece of wire. So I need to do that again now for the brown wire, you see. And we start off, strip the end off that, drill around, and yes. So yeah, I mean, I've got, there's a few more bits and pieces I've got to do. I've got a Hornby B12, one of the old ones, that in theory needs a DCC decoder going into it. I'm almost loath to do it. The loco cost me about 20 quid. It works. That works quite nicely, actually. It's got a problem with one of its tender wheels, but I have actually got some spare tender axles for it to give it metal wheels. I think, I could put pickups in this thing. There's a lot I could do with it. But the loco cost me about 20 quid. It's the old railways one, the old train set version. So you start looking at it thinking, well, is that actually worth putting a decoder in? Yeah, probably is. As I say, I've got there's a little J72 that I want to put a decoder in because that one does look quite nice. And there's another N2. I've got the black mainline version of that as well. And they were all fairly cheap. And the slightly depressing thing about those, Hornby is still selling them, which is a bit, yeah. So yeah, Hornby is selling the things. Sorry, I don't want to do that. So let's keep that open. Yeah, Hornby is still selling the things. They sell them now as DCC ready, so it's got a socket fitted to it, which is nice. But otherwise, it's exactly the same bodywork. And you start looking at it, thinking that's a loco from the 80s, possibly even slightly older. I think it's 80s. And then you look at they're charging modern prices for it, which is a bit. To be honest, I think that's a little bit naughty. But there we go. So we shall see. Other things I've got coming up at some point in the future. I've got a lot of these LNER coaches. It seems almost mandatory if you've got them to try and do a video on how to make them actually look a bit more like teak rather than like plastic. So I have a few thoughts on that. This is something I've actually done before. Last time I did one, I mean, it was quite a few years ago and I don't have those ones anymore. But last time I did one, I actually used teak varnish, which worked surprisingly well, actually. Took a couple of coats. The thing got sprayed, I think it was like an antique white colour first, so it started out like in a slightly light bone colour. And then 3 coats of teak varnish applied with a brush After the first one I looked at it and thought, oh my god, what have I done? By the time I got to the third coat, you know what, actually it looked alright. So yeah, I've got quite a few of these coaches. I am planning a bit of an upgrade on them. They need block detection capability, and if they're going to get resistor wheel sets or pickups of some sort fitted, I'm seriously contemplating installing lights, because why wouldn't I? At that point, that means the interior is going to need a bit of work. They do have an interior, so it's not like they are devoid of an inward. They do have one. It's a bit basic, but it's there, so that could do with a bit of paint and a couple of passengers fitting. Obviously, I've got the Suburban ones as well, which don't have an interior, so I'll have to have a think about a solution for that. Probably printing one, possibly including the passengers at that point. So that goes in. Right, that comes around here, and that should be all I actually need to do to power these tracks up. So before I go anywhere else, I'm going to do a quick continuity test. And if it passes, I'm then going to leave this for a few hours to dry, cure properly. I'll then come down, we shall run some trains. So, blue, well actually do it track wise. That one to there, to there, to there, but not to the other rails. Brown, passed. So yes, that looks a little bit of a mess. However, once the copy next has had a chance to dry, that'll work. I'll be back in a bit. We'll run some trains. Okay, back. Glue's had time to dry. I'll just bring this to the front. I've added these new points now onto JMRI. There's no block detection as yet. So what we're going to do, test this out. I've broken out another coach and my my little weathered Hornby vans. Video elsewhere on the site on how I did that, but there we go. We're going to take the Scotsman round, and she's going to go into this siding. So we'll see how well that works. So we've got the Scotsman set up, the route is set in a sec. Flip 2 points down there, so we are now set into the sidings. Let's have a little go. Off she goes. I'm going to maintain a moderate speed, as I'm still not fully trusting the way the track is here. Watch her going around. I was using a little J52. She's having some problems currently. I need to investigate. It's like she's one of her coupling rods or something is catching. She's lurching a little bit. But we shall see. I'll go past the sign and all that. See, this side of the layout does look a lot better now. Come back round here. Through the hole in the wall into no man's land. Come down here. Nicely over all the point work. And roll off into the new sidings. Where she can stop. In fact, she needs to crawl forward just a little bit more. There she is, right at the end, but she's cleared that point, if you see what I mean. So what I'm now going to do is throw the point next to it, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to run the N2 and the wagons in. It was just there. I just need to release that, reselect my N2 in green. This is going to be noisy. This one is always noisy, and she's pulsating a little bit as well. But again, looks reasonable going around. Once we get past that onto the centre section, see, that looks a lot better. And we come round, and obviously I've got all the tools and other nonsense to get out of the way. But there we go. And you two will come around here, through the hole in the wall. There's a rumble past with the wagon looking quite nicely. Clears that. And then runs right off the end because I couldn't hit the stop button in time. Yes, problem exists between keyboard and chair again there a little bit. But this sort of highlights the point I was making about with that being the clear bit. Yeah, they're not hitting each other there. So yeah, what we've got now, the entrance sections to these sidings. The third track does run as well. It's just the J52 is not feeling particularly happy at the moment, so she's not running into there. Yeah, so the next step is to come along here and relay the cork and carry the track on around this curve. So I will carry on with that in another video. See down there the signal box nicely lit up. I will see you all again soon. Thank you very much for watching. Likes, comments, shares, subscriptions, etc. all more than welcome. Remember, subscriptions don't really cost you anything, and the channel is doing rather well with them. So yes, thank you all. I will catch you again soon. Thank you very much, and goodbye.